Welcome to the Redeemer Network podcast, where we talk church planning, church health, and multiplying churches for the sake of the gospel. To learn more about the Redeemer Network, visit redeemernetwork.org. All right, well, welcome back to a new season of the Redeemer Network podcast. My name is Jordan Elder. I serve as pastor of preaching and vision at Redeemer Church here in Round Rock. And I also have the privilege of serving the Redeemer Network as president and podcast host. And I'm excited. We're launching a third season of this podcast. We've upped our game a bit and we've added some video. So not just audio, but we have some video now. So you could check that out if you are inclined. And, when we started this podcast, maybe a year and a half ago now, our goal was to resource and encourage our churches. And so that's what we've been after. Season 1, we walked through our health metrics, our 10 health metrics that mark our training and saturate our coaching in the network. In season 2, we shifted our focus a bit to telling stories of how God has worked in different ways in the churches in our network. And in this season of the podcast, we're going to really focus in on our mission as a network. We're going to talk about what do we do? What is it that we actually do as a network? And why do those things matter? And what is it specifically that we're laboring for at this moment in time? So to get us started with season 3, I'm joined by Dusty Thompson. Dusty's the lead pastor of Redeemer Lubbock, and he serves as the chairman of our network board. Dusty, welcome.
What's up?
Also got Brandon Barker here. Brandon's the executive director of the Redeemer Network. And Brandon, I just want to say this, man, you've done such a great job over the last few years of helping us scale and steward this network of churches without losing sight of our mission and our values. So thanks for jumping on and helping us kick off this new season of the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, before we get into it, it's springtime. We just finished up Easter at the time that we're recording this. Summer is right around the corner. I thought maybe we could start by just a real simple question, but what's got you excited right now? Springtime, summer's around the corner. What are you looking forward to?
DT, you want to go first? I've got two things that come to mind. One, on a personal note, that it's baseball season. Mine will be pretty similar to Jordan on this. So my youngest, JJ, is in full swing. Like, this is the home stretch of district baseball. And then summer is going to be bonkers. We'll be in Atlanta, Alabama, Oklahoma, Houston, Dallas a couple of times. It'll be bonkers. But it's kind of go time over the next 2 summers for him for recruitment. He'd like to play in college, so we'll see what happens. But love baseball and great time. And the second thing is that we're in full swing with our South Campus with Redeemer.
Yeah.
And we got ground turning and are, in the late stages of hiring a campus pastor, as well as reorganizing our staff to get that done, along with a couple of other hires that we've made. College director, my dude Jarek, that we are bringing in, I'm really fired up about. So, yeah, those things are all really exciting to me.
Yeah, I know that's been a long time coming for you guys. You guys have been working toward the South Campus for a bit now, so that is really exciting to actually see some progress and that thing's coming to fruition. What about you, Barker?
Well, my first one is similar to Dusty's. Summer's coming up. My son's a freshman in high school, playing high school golf. This summer's a big summer for him. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll get to caddy at a few tournaments, which I'm excited about. On a ministry front, we have our network Pastors and Wives retreat, leaving Sunday to Wednesday for that. Could not be more excited for that, but I've got to confess this. I am responsible ultimately for the calendaring of that event, and I scheduled that to start on Masters Sunday. So as we're driving there, I'm going to be trying to watch the Masters, which is one of 2 days a year where I want to be left alone on my couch watching golf, but I'm going to be driving to our retreat.
Yeah, you got to make sure you put that on your calendar for next year.
It will not be a mistake we make again.
Yeah. Hey, Brandon's worth a follow on social media just to be able to see the videos of his son's golf swing. It is incredibly impressive.
I'm biased, but I agree.
Yeah, incredibly impressive.
And I do bet we can arrange a meet with Brock connecting you to Aberg for your kid. That would be kind of a cool meet, maybe after a tournament's over. So
that guy might win the Masters this year.
Yeah,
might.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. This might come out after the Masters is over, but I think that Red Raiders got a chance.
This will definitely come out after the Masters is over, but he definitely does have a chance.
Always comes back to the Red Raiders here on the Redeemer Network podcast. So, all right, well, hey, we've got some great stuff queued up for this season. I'm really excited about the episodes to come, but what I wanted to do to begin as we start this series of episodes talking about what we do as a network, what is our mission? I wanted to start by backing up and talking about our story. Where did this network even come from? How did God give birth to a network of churches? And then our three priorities, things that we stay anchored on, our three pillars. And so let's start with that. DT, we'll kick it to you. We'll start with the story of the Redeemer Network. Like when you tell the story of how the Redeemer Network came to be, what do you say?
I love this question. That I think so much of it was as unintentional as can be. And that's part of the beauty in it, that intentionally, Redeemer Lubbock wanted to plant churches. That was part of our vision. We had something called the 2020 vision that we had no idea how we would do. We planted in 2008. By 2020, we wanted to plant 20 churches domestically. We wanted to send 20 missionaries to the unreached. We had no idea how to do that. It was an idea, just like any good church planter, right? We have this incredible idea in our head that none of it's real yet, but it will be, maybe. And so, by God's grace, you were the first one of that, Jordan, that you and Josh went to Round Rock. I remember at a Redeemer member meeting, Cade Wilcox, who was on staff at that time, just announced in a member meeting that we had a thing called the Redeemer Network. And I was like, oh, really? I didn't know. That's cool. What is that? And he didn't know either. We just kind of pronounced it into being.
We have some church plants out there. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And what else are they besides the Redeemer Network? Yep. And we belong to another church planting network, Acts 29. I still love those guys so much and wish them well. It was such an important network for us in those days.
Yeah, huge. Yeah.
But really important for almost all of us, at least those early era, Redeemer Network church planters. And so we had this relational affinity. And so the story is that you had just a handful of church plants, and we started to get together every once in a while. And I remember one up in Cedar Canyon, and then another one, at least one or two in Brady. And then there was this incredible conversation where, we had just 5 or 6 churches, and we were wanting to pool money to plant churches, but it was pretty much the way I would describe it. Redeemer Lubbock, we were the lead vocalist. All the other churches were kind of background vocalists, maybe providing, some other kinds of help and support while Redeemer Lubbock planted churches. And Jordan and I had a gigantic series of conversations really over coffee in Round Rock when I was there speaking at another event. And where it's like, hey, we'd like to actually really be involved in planting churches, not as a background, vocalist, but, part of the choir, we all together planting churches. What would that look like? And so, one thing led to another. And before long, really effectively, the Redeemer Network actually took shape into something. And under Jordan's leadership, that he had a lot of vision for it and an idea, like a good church planter in his head, of a shared residency that we could train future church planters. That was not something that, had been done up till then, and something that we could participate in together. And so that was a lot of it. It was a concept, but hadn't been proven. And then so where it went from there was a proof of concept. Is what happened is that residency began that it wasn't perfect, but it had a lot of things that hit. We're still developing it now, but that we did some things. And then the really cool part about it is then we're pooling cash together where everybody could be part of planting churches every year, the churches that were a part of it. So that to me is so much of the story is, Redeemer Lubbock, knowing that we wanted to plant churches, but kind of falling backwards into something that would be a network. We didn't even know what it meant. Jordan was really big on providing some definition. Redeemer Lubbock moving more into the passenger seat to many regards in this conversation of we still were very committed to planting churches, but Jordan was providing so much of the vision for what the network would become. And then I would just say that we got to a real serious crossroads right around COVID time with, look, do we just need to, let the Redeemer Network go and, fold into Acts 29 or whatever, like that was a real conversation back then. Or do we need to really, put fuel to this? Do we feel like that there's something to steward? And with all of our gratitude for what Acts 29 had been to us over the years, that, was there something that needed to catalyze among us and these? And so that's where it really took off at that time. And, Brandon becoming the executive director, that hire was critical to just even more fuel and more purpose and intentionality. So that's my story. Intentionally church planting, unintentionally Redeemer Network. But then here we are with this incredible thing to steward that God's at work in.
Yeah, really good. Brandon, you came into this a few years ago when you came on our staff as the executive director of the network. From your angle, what would you say is unique about the Redeemer Network story?
Yeah, so I did. I came in 2022. This summer will be 4 years with Redeemer.
Yeah.
Which it's 4 years, but it feels like 40 to me. It just feels like I've known all of the guys from day one and love them. But what was unique coming in? There were some things that stood out up front. I want to tell you guys, I apologize ahead of time. I only do outlines. The world for me is one big outline. It's one big equation. And so you've got 3 questions on here for our script, and I've got outlines for each one of them. And so here's my outline for the first one. What was unique? 1, how our network was formed. 2, our residency. 3, our culture. 4, the depth of care that's provided in Redeemer. So the first one, how our network was formed. With Dusty, you just got to it that the vision wasn't an organization. The vision was collaborative church planting. It was leaning in, planting churches together, and the organization formed and flowed out of that vision. It wasn't, let's start an organization, and that organization would then plant churches together. And so the way it formed was organization flowing out of vision, not the other way around. Second, the quality of our residency. Jordan, you built an exceptional residency, and I know you don't love complimentary stuff all that much. It makes you a little bit uncomfortable. I get that. But you really did. I am biased, but I really do believe our residency is second to none, and you built that from the ground up. I know you got input from other guys.
Yeah. Yep.
But you really did build an exceptional residency. And now we've got Reed Monahan on the team who I believe really is one of the handful of people out there who could take what's exceptional and make it better. Okay. And we're excited about that. Third, the culture. Redeemer is a network full of humble, unimpressed people. It's not to say there's not impressive men and women in Redeemer Network. It's to say that nobody's impressed by one another. It's just a group of people who love Jesus, who love the church, who want to see the gospel advance, who want to do that low to the ground, diligent, often dirty work of seeing the gospel take root in people's lives. And then fourth, the depth and the honesty of the care within Redeemer, which I experienced when I was interviewing. When I was interviewing with Redeemer, I was coming out of a difficult season. On my first Zoom call with the board, and I think it was 2 days later, I got a call from Jeremy Buck. Jeremy opened the call with, I'm not calling in any official capacity with Redeemer. I just wanted to call because not what you said, but how you said it. I just want to see if you're okay.
Jeremy.
Jeremy Buck.
Yeah.
But and then we talked for 90 minutes. I hung up the phone, told Amanda, my wife, man, that really is a group of guys who want to pastor pastors, and I want to be a part of that. And so that call is a microcosm and a little snapshot at what I've been able to watch get played out over and over on repeat throughout our network. So what's unique as I came in, how we were formed, our residency, our culture, and the depth, and I would just add the honesty of our care within Redeemer.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I love that. Maybe the way I would say it for my seat is there was, like you guys are saying, there was never a strategy to build a network, but there was a real commitment to collaborate together to plant churches. Yep. And it was, hey, we love you, you love us. We're trying to plant churches, you're trying to plant churches. Why are we not doing this together? Let's work together, and let's train our guys together. Let's pull our money together. And that just got catalytic. It really was just a collaborative residency with some shared resourcing, and Dusty was doing such a great job of pulling lead pastors together, and it just got really catalytic. And next thing we knew, we looked up, and it was, as you said, Dusty, I think there's something to steward here. That was probably around 2020 after 4 or 5 years of our shared residency program. And there's something to steward here. God's done something unique here. And we don't really know exactly what that thing is, but we think we're supposed to steward it and continue to multiply it and lean in. And man, it's been such a joy. It's been such a fun ride. I think now we're over close to 40 churches across Texas, and a couple in New Mexico, and one in Tucson, Arizona, and just so much good gospel ministry that's flowing out of our churches. And so that's a bit of our story. And I love telling the story. And buried within that story, there are 3 clear priorities that we've been about from the beginning. We define these from the beginning. Like what is it that we do together as a network of churches? And those 3 priorities are training, funding, and support. Train, fund, support. And that's, it's even kind of buried in our logo. If you see our Redeemer Network logo, it's a leaf, which represents health. We want to plant healthy churches. We've defined health with our 10 health metrics. And that leaf is divided into thirds, just a reminder, a visual reminder for us of the things that we are committed to: training, funding, and support. So what I want to do is I would love to just break each of those down. Brandon, would you do that for us? Just like a high level overview. What do we mean by train, fund, support? And why are those things important to us in the work of establishing and multiplying churches?
Everything that we do in the Redeemer Network aims at seeing the gospel advance and churches multiply. So when we plant a church, we don't just plant a church. We want to plant a church that aims at that church multiplying and planting new churches. And then we don't just replant churches. We don't want them just to become healthy and vibrant. We want that. We want them to become a multiplying church. That's the aim of all that we do. And so if you look at our multiplication chart, which is on our website, you'll see 41 churches, and 9 of them are more like replants than traditional church plants. And we train toward both. So we train, we fund, we support, and we train toward church planting, and we train toward replanting. And so we train our church planters in a 2-year immersive cohort-based residency. So our church planters are immersed in a local church. They're not pulled out of the local church. We want them in that context, gaining experience, oversight, chances to lead, and we believe it's churches that plant churches. And so the commissioning and the sending comes from the local church. But then our residents are placed in a cohort with other church planters for 2 years where they're trained in particular competencies and skills. We say it this way, that our residency, it's divided into 3 broad buckets: conviction, character, competency. Conviction, we want our residents to leave our residency deeply grounded in the Bible about not just the why, but the what and the how even. We want them to look into the scriptures and go, okay, when it gets really, really hard, and when you hit that day, Dusty, Jordan, I know you guys experience it. When you get that day 3 years in where it's like, what in the world did I do with my life? That you can open up the Bible and go, this is what I'm doing with my life.
Yep.
And you can keep going. And then character. And character may not be the best term for this, but we have units built in where we want them to just experience the love of the Father for them. And we want to work toward healthy lives and healthy marriages. We want our residents to know, our church planters to know, that if they go into their town, if they go into their city, and that city blows up in the best of ways, and I mean thousands of people have eternity rerouted, generations upon generations are changed, 10 churches are planted, they are not loved 1 ounce more by the Father. And if they get in, and 3 years in, they are unemployed, it is crashed and burned, and they're trying to figure out what to do with their lives, they're not loved 1 ounce less. We want that built into our residency. So we got convictions, we've got character, we want them to know and experience that they are loved by God. And then competency. There are particular skills that you need to plant and lead a healthy church, and so we want to train toward those competencies. So our church planting residency, 2-year, immersive, cohort-based, focused on conviction, character, competency. But then we also have a replanting residency, which is a 1-year, immersive, cohort-based residency focused on conviction, character, competency.
Yeah.
It's the same broad bucket, it's just the content is focused on replanting versus planting, and it's 1 year with a little bit more focus on coaching because the circumstances are so divergent and unique. Marco De Leon, I know you'll have an episode with him. Yep. He's our director of replanting. He's beta tested this residency this past year. Just establishing that proof of concept went really well, and we're actively ready to take on new residents who are leading renewing efforts in their church and want to be coached and trained toward that end. So same residency, the difference is content with a little more focus on replanting.
One of the things about our training that I have seen so much fruit from over the years is just the community that is created by the nature of doing residency training in collaboration. Is that you've got residents from different churches that are all being trained together. So they're going through content together. They're getting to learn together. They're forming deep bonds and relationships. So are their spouses. And those relationships stay together. They stay in community even after they've gone through and moved on and are planting or wherever else God has taken them. Those relationships remain. And so there's just so much built in community there that, man, it's one thing to learn. It's a whole nother thing to learn together with a band of brothers and to be able to challenge each other and sharpen each other and learn from the churches that the other residents are at. And so there's just so much opportunity for collaboration and community in our training. So we train. We also fund. That's our second priority is funding. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we fund each one of our church plants over 2 years. It started at $60,000, then became 70, and then 80. Right now, we're at $85,000 per church plant. We want to get that up to $100,000. Dusty, this past year we had a fundraising dinner in Midland, and you did a little promo video for us to show as an intro. And this is what you said. I think I'm quoting you. I'll do my best here, but you said the research is clear. Church planting is the most effective strategy we have for reaching new people with the gospel while building up the church. And yet, church plants tend to remain woefully undercapitalized. We want that story to be different in Redeemer Network. We believe it is different right now. We want to continue to see it be different. We want to fund more church plants, and we want to increase our funding for our church plants. And our churches all give generously. Our churches give sacrificially to be part of the network financially. And then we're also trying to raise up an army of men and women who believe in church planting, who want to participate in the work we call donors multipliers, because we really do believe that when you are giving and supporting Redeemer Network, you are sowing into multiplying the gospel, seeing the gospel advance as churches multiply. And so that's what we do. Right now we're at 85,000. We want to get that to 100,000. Yeah. And I'll say this: we're not trying to remove the necessity of fundraising from our church planters. Fundraising is a skill that church planters need. We want them to hustle and grind. It's a great way to grow and learn and cast vision and inviting people to be a part of what you're doing. We're just trying to give them a head start.
Yeah. So the network is providing stipends for residents to help them while they're in training. We are providing financial support for the church plants that we're sending out over a 2-year window, trying to grow that. It's a big part of health, of working toward health, is that churches need resources and they need funding. And so that's a big piece of it. If we're going to plant healthy churches, we need to train well, we need to fund as well as we can. And then finally, support. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, when we talk about support, we define it as the coaching and care we provide our pastors and their wives. That our pastors matter to us, and they matter to us without a so that. They matter to the Lord without a so that. They don't matter to us so that they can pastor a church, so they can lead a healthy church. They just matter to us, full stop, without qualification. Some tangible examples to what I mean by that is that if any of our pastors, if tomorrow you came and said, "Hey guys, I'm out. I just can't do it anymore. I want to go pursue some other, I'm done with ministry. I want to pursue marketplace." We found an organization that we will pay to equip you to be resourced to go get a job in the marketplace, because you matter to us, not just because Redeemer Round Rock matters to us. We also had 2 churches closed this past year. Both pastors and their wives were invited to our network retreat next week because they matter to us, period, and without qualification. But so does our mission together. Mm-hmm. They matter to us, and so does our mission together. That the aim of all that we're doing is to multiply healthy churches, and healthy churches are led by healthy leaders with healthy marriages. And so we put a lot of resource into and a lot of manpower into our support team, which is being led by Jeremy Buck. It's got Kyle Ogle. It's got Kate Ritchie, who leads our wives care. And I know that there's an in-depth episode coming with them, and they're going to walk through all that we do to care for our pastors and wives. But from my seat, I want it said this way, that this is as high a priority as anything in our network.
Yeah, it's good. Love it. So the wraparound support is so encouraging to see it. I've experienced it. I've seen other people in the network experience the support, whether it be the equipping, the training, the care, their events that we do. It's such a blessing. And so, I'm excited to talk more about that with those guys in upcoming episodes. Dusty, I want to come to you. I mean, you've been a part of other networks. You've been a part, you've seen and experienced up close other church denominations. I'm not by any means trying to say that we're exceptional in any way. Like I do think I love what God's doing in our network. I think it's amazing. I see it. I get a front row seat to the fruit of what He's doing. So I do think it's awesome. But I'm not trying to say that we're amazing or better than anyone else. But I do wonder how you see these three priorities of training, funding, and support, how it makes the Redeemer Network unique from other networks or denominations that you've been a part of.
Well, the short answer, which of course I won't, stick with, short answer is that I don't think that most organizations are, laser focused like that, trying to do like so many different things that, it's member churches and pastors don't probably know why they're a part of it when it comes down to it, other than it's kind of the sticker that's on the back of their truck kind of deal. I think that's just in general what can happen. Here'd be my analogy. That's the short version is I do think that there's just a lot of intentionality about why we exist. But one thing I learned over the years of being a part of network leadership is there are so many analogies between life as a network and or denomination, depending on what somebody's in, and life in a church. It's so many of the same dynamics. What I mean is that if you think about the basement for the church, that it's the gravitational pull that you feel anyone that's leading a church it's conservatism. And I'm not talking politically or ideologically. I'm talking more relationally and organizationally, that the gravitational pull of any organization is that, look, don't mess this thing up. Don't go blow up this church that I love. And that you see everything as a threat. More people coming in the doors means we may have to have another service, and I may not be with my friends. And I wonder if, the kids worker that I like isn't going to be at the other service, and, we're going to have to multiply groups, and we've just made community now. And I'm not saying that those are not like legitimate concerns, but this is the everyday thing for church, is that your average church person, without thinking about it, is going to be like, man, let me just bed down with my people, preach the Bible, and let's do our thing. That's the gravitational pull. I would say the same exact thing happens in network life. The gravitational pull is hey, let's have the same 15 pastors meet in Brady every year. And that's where we had done our lead pastors retreat for years and years, still do it every other year. But let me just keep my people, and where I'll have my buddies to see whenever we do things. And I'm not really interested in having to break into new relationships and maybe not get to have a lot of quality time with some of them, because there's so many guys that are there. And no, I'm not really interested in these different layers and things to do, and going to an event and my wife doesn't know half the wives there. So I would rather, again, this is the gravitational pulls. I would rather just kind of have my people do my thing, belong to a group of buddies, and just move along our way. And so I think that is what's unique about, to answer that question of those three things that I just think are so unique, because the support, the funding, the training are just laser focused around why we exist to be. And it directly counters the gravitational pull of, but the mission, the mission necessitates it. And we need to be healthy. One of the shocking things that happened for me for years is you'd have annual events, in networks or denominations, and see these guys that you really liked. And then before you saw them the next year, their life and church completely blew up. And you're like, wait, we had a great time hanging out after the session. But just because you've got buddies that are at conference doesn't mean that, you're walking in health, godliness, that your marriage is healthy. And so I think these things just push us to the things we really value and are truly unique.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I'm hearing a few things. Okay. So, what we've been about from the beginning, all the way back to the beginning of our story as a network, is training, funding, and support. We're going to work together. We're going to lean in together to train together, to fund together, and to support toward health and multiplication of churches, so that more people would come to know the good news of Jesus and grow in grace. We've been about that from the beginning. And yet over time, it has gotten catalytic, and we've grown. We've gone from a network of 6 churches to 12 churches to 20 churches we've added new initiatives. We've started an annual conference. We created a church adoption process. We are now doing replanting training and residencies, where the network is growing, in other words. And I think people feel it. People feel it. Many people that are listening to this have felt it and will continue to feel it. And so here's the thing I want to talk about now is, what does it look like for us? Brandon, from your seat as executive director, Dusty, from your seat as many ways a founding leader and the chairman of our board for this network. What does it look like for us to scale these same three priorities that we've always been about: training, funding, and support? We're going to scale those things as the network, as we're continuing to bear fruit, but we're going to try not to lose what's most important to us. And so how do we do that, Brandon? How do we scale our impact without losing sight of our three priorities?
Yeah. So anyone who's ever led any kind of growing organization knows that the outline I'm about to give, which I'm about to go back to an outline again, is easy to say, hard to do. So let's just say that up front, that this is going to take discipline, diligence in the years to come to do this and to do it well. But how do we scale without losing? I think first, we remain laser focused on our original mission by maintaining discipline in our yeses, in what we say yes to, and guarding our culture as if our life depended on it, because it does. Mm-hmm. So first, remaining laser focused on our original mission. We've already talked about this, but we exist to advance the gospel by multiplying healthy churches. That mission produces the need for organization, not the other way around. Right. So it's not organization that creates mission. Organization fuels the mission, and it flows out of mission. That's easy. It's easy. Pastors know this. Leaders of all scope know this, that it's easy to scope creep into treating the organization as the mission when it's not.
Amen.
We do not exist to put on conferences.
Yeah.
We do not exist to run a residency.
Or put out a podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
We exist to see the gospel advance through multiplying healthy churches. We got to stay laser focused on that one. More men, women, and children being encountered with the hope of Jesus through churches multiplying healthy churches. That's what we're about. So how do we stay laser focused on that original mission? We maintain discipline in our yeses, in what we say yes to. That mission drift doesn't typically happen by what you say no to. It typically happens through undisciplined yeses, by what you say yes to. I'm stealing this line from somebody, but I tell our pastors all the time, you are 6 months and 6 yeses from becoming a church you never wanted to be. The same thing is true for us. We are always 6 months and 6 undisciplined yeses from becoming a network we never wanted to be. So
true. Yeah.
We stay focused on our original mission. We stay disciplined in what we say yes to, which doesn't mean you say no to everything. That means you have a disciplined process for determining when it's time to say yes. And so we stay disciplined in our yeses. And then third, we guard our culture like our life depends on it, because it does. Herb Keller, do you guys know who that is? Southwest Airlines, founder of Southwest Airlines. 10 years ago now, 2016, he was on one of my favorite podcasts out there, How I Built This. And he said when he was retiring, he wrote a letter to Southwest. It was my 10 hopes for Southwest Airlines. And I'm going to paraphrase him from the podcast, but he said, this is what he said. One of my hopes is that we keep thinking and acting small. If we continue to think and act small, we will continue to grow large. But if we start thinking and acting large, we'll grow small. That line has been like a formative leadership line for me in ministry, both in the local church and now in Redeemer Network. And that line is sitting in the back of my head and the back of my heart when I'm sitting at Blue Corn Harvest, one of the better Mexican restaurants you will ever find.
It's debatable.
It's debatable. It shouldn't be, but it is. Fair enough. Having dinner with Jamie Wallace, one of our elders at one of our churches in Brady, and I asked him, man, how do we scale Redeemer Network? And he sat back and he leaned back, he put his hand up to his chin. I don't think he's got chin hair. I don't know why I did that, but he did that. And he said, it's easy. You double down on health. And I remember sitting there going, well, feeling silly for asking the question. That seemed like such an obvious answer, that if we want to continue being focused and guarded and clear about what we're doing, we need healthy people leading. We need healthy leaders leading healthy churches. Yeah. And so we continue to think and act small by doubling down on health, on the health of the person right in front of us. Our culture matters and our life depends on it. If we stop becoming a group of unimpressed people, we're going to drift. We are going to make poor decisions the minute we try to impress one another or become impressed with one another.
Yeah, that's good. Both in the Herb Keller thing that you mentioned, the Southwest guy. At first, I thought you were going to say one of the things he wrote was let's do assigned seating. Let's get rid of boarding groups.
Oh, he's rolling over right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's good because I think in both of those things, that and then the comment about health that Jamie Wallace made, you hear the value of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And that we care about people, and we care about the people in our churches. We care about the pastors in our churches. I think that even goes back to our desire to want to train church planners in community.
Yeah.
And that we want to stay connected, and we want to walk with each other, and we want to do this together, and which goes all the way back, Dusty, I think even to your heart. There was never a strategy or a vision for a network, but there was a heart to stay connected to these guys you were sending out, and to track with them, and to love them, support them, encourage them, be their corner guy, And so I think really, if you had to boil it all down, it's that value of relationship at every level. The people we're trying to reach, that's why we want to plant more churches, because we care about people that are lost and far from God. We care about the people in our churches. That's why we want healthy pastors. And I love that. I love just to say, this thing's gonna grow. It's gonna continue to scale, Lord willing. But that passion and commitment to being a relationally driven network must remain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Dusty, anything you'd add here on how we scale? Anything's coming to mind, thinking about scaling without losing our side of our priorities?
Well, I loved everything that Brandon said. He could speak with so much more clarity on, he thinks about this every day, about how this network is going to go from where it is to, as we all continue to multiply churches and planting and replanting, and a few that will be adopted in, like what that looks like. And I loved everything he said. I think he's just the right guy to lead the charge on it. My other thought was in line with what I was talking about earlier about the gravitational pull, about, how we overcome that, with these three areas scaling. Well, again, it's the same question of how do we overcome that with our churches? And I was just going to share one quick story about Redeemer related to something I've already mentioned here with our South Campus. So here's what's interesting is whenever we began to cast vision for this South Campus to our church about 3 years ago is when we were doing that. We began to talk about it, began to talk about even the generosity would be required to do it, the why behind it, all that. What's interesting is there was, a lot of people that were really excited about the first time they heard it. But there was a certain number of folks from Redeemer that were not about it initially, that there was a lot of recoil, and a lot of it was fear for some of the reasons I mentioned earlier, that, you're about to mess up this church I love. This church has been really significant, and now are my friends going to go there, or I'm going to go there and they're going to be left behind? And a pastor that I love, is he not going to be my preaching pastor anymore? And whatever, all these fear points, they were all valid. And also, this was interesting, but there were some prejudices against South Lubbock that I had no idea. To me, it was just a different part of town. I hadn't thought of it one way or another. But there's a lot of people that were like, I don't like those people, even though we had a lot of those people at our church. But
don't you live there?
Yeah, well, I mean, those people were South Lubbock, that, and you're like, man, that is just 10 minutes from your house, man. What are you talking? Your kids go to the same spot, whatever. But so here's what's interesting though, and this is what I think about network life, and again, all the parallels, is that as we just continue to listen, first of all, and continue to cast vision for the why behind it, is that we're not just, putting this together as a growth solution or market share or something like this, but, this incredibly fast growing part of our city, and almost no one is going to be able to afford to go plant a church out there. The land is sky high, and there's no Blockbusters or Hastings that you can go remodel. That doesn't exist. It's all cotton fields and brand new build outs. And you can count them on one hand of churches that could be out there if they wanted to. So as we just continue to cast this vision, what was interesting is so many of our members, whenever we would follow up later, were like, you know what, I've come around on this, that I really do I want people in South Lubbock to be reached with the gospel. I want them to hear it from us. I'm willing to give, whether I go or not, I don't know, but I think this is a significant. And I have the same thought about what we need to be, is that there's going to be a flexibility that's going to be needed, and foregoing of our own comforts, and including new guys and their teams and churches into the network, and structures that'll be new and unique, and ones that we can't even foresee now. But the reason why it's worth it is because Jesus has been crucified and resurrected, and we want to be part of making disciples of all nations. And what a gift that we get to play in this space. And that why is so significant that we really must steward this and scale it.
Yeah, really good. Well, I'm really excited about what God's doing in our network right now, more than ever, and excited about being able to have some more conversations over this season with the folks that are working on the ground to train church planters, and to get to share the stories of some of our church planters and exactly what they're experiencing as they're going through our training, and what God's doing in the replanting space, and why that's so strategic and so important right now, and how we're trying to get after that with resourcing and supporting replanters. And we're going to talk about what we're doing to care for pastors and just dig more into the need for pastors to sustain and kind of the state of the pastorate right now in America. I'm excited to have Chris Maloney on to talk about some of the stuff he's doing for the network with worship leaders and how he's training, equipping, resourcing worship leaders of all different stages, whether it's church plant worship leaders, bivocational guys, full-time people at some of our larger churches. So we've got a lot of great stuff queued up that I'm really excited about. Retreat coming up. We've got a conference in the fall here in Austin. And a really exciting time in the life of our network. So excited about it. Guys, thanks for jumping on today. Appreciate you jumping on and joining us. Kyler, thanks for producing this one. We appreciate you. And
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jordan.
All right. Till next time.